everyone. Welcome to the lineup. I am Jason Smith, filling in for Charlie Stevens this evening, alongside my partner Tim. And we're going to start off with you, Tim. The fake move to third, throw to first in Major League Baseball is now considered a balk. Is this going to speed up the game, or is it just a way to increase stolen base numbers?
I think it's a little bit of both, and I think it's a good thing. I'm a big fan of baseball. I like to go to a lot of games. The fact of the matter is sometimes you don't want to sit there for 4 hours. On the other side of that too, the stolen base is it's a dying art, and it's something that needs to be brought back into baseball. And if this will do it, by all means, I think it's a great idea.
And for me, I tend to agree with you. Jeff Nelson, a former Major League pitcher, said that he tried this move maybe 300 times in his career. It only worked twice. It's definitely going to speed up the game. And for me, I think the stolen base, like you said, is a lost art. But there's so many fast guys in Major League Baseball: B.J. Upton, Michael Bourne, Austin Jackson. If they can eliminate this, it might help them boost their numbers into the 30-40 range. Guys like Jose Reyes might get into the 70s, 80s, 90s. And I think that it's going to be a great tool for tuning up the offense and generating more runs in baseball, which leads us to our American League and National League Central previews. For me, the American League, it's got to be the Detroit Tigers. They're the class of the division. Despite what everybody else did, the Royals made some really, really good moves. The White Sox are the White Sox. They do something every year. The Indians, they got Swisher, but Nick Swisher's not going to carry you to a division title, as we all know, with the New York Yankees. So, Detroit for me in the American League. Over on the National League side, Cincinnati just has they just have too many pieces to really do anything to contend in the Central as far as St. Louis goes. Houston's gone now. 3, 4, 5 years, St. Louis might be able to give Cincinnati a run for its money, but I think Cincinnati's going to run away with this one. So, Tim, I want your opinion on this.
Well, in the Central, of course, I'm going to agree with you. The Tigers, yeah, they are the class of the division. But I think that this division is going to be a lot closer than what people are expecting. Of course, it's all going to depend on how Martinez, how he bounces back, what's going on in that Tigers bullpen. They needed a couple guys in there. Definitely somebody in the back end if Rondon doesn't work out. But I think you're completely missing the boat. Now, am I saying that they're better than the Tigers? By no means am I saying this. But the Kansas City Royals are going to be a much improved team. They got a lot of good young talent, a lot of power. They got Billy Butler, who was a phenomenal hitter. But, some of the arms they collected in the offseason, they got James Shields, they got Wade Davis, Jeremy Guthrie, Irvin Santana. Bruce Chen was already there. That's not a bad starting five. So I'm looking at Kansas City to potentially, they're probably I think they're going to be second place in this division, right there nipping at the Tigers because, they've always given the Tigers trouble. Cleveland, I'm going to tend to agree with you there. It's all going to depend on really how Ubaldo Jimenez does. He's got to start throwing like he did before he came to Cleveland. Masterson has to start throwing like he did before he came to Cleveland. Trevor Bauer, he's got to pick it back up. And, Myers was a good pickup, but, we got to see what he's going to do. The thing you're missing the boat on with Cleveland is one of the best bullpens in the entire league. So, if those starters can fire up here and get going, it's going to be – I think that the American League Central is going to be one of the toughest leagues or one of the toughest divisions in the entire league. As you said, the White Sox, they're always there. They're one of them teams that can, if they're in contention, they're going to go make a move to make sure that they stay in contention. Minnesota, they're not in it. Give them a few years. They got a lot of good prospects in that organization. So, in 3 years, I think that the American League Central is going to be even more intriguing. The National League Central, that's a two-team race there by far. You got St. Louis and Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you can maybe call them the class of that division. However, if St. Louis didn't prove it to you last year, they find a way to win. Whether they have Albert Pujols or not. Yeah, Loesch is gone, but they do find a way to win there. I like St. Louis. That's going to be good race all season there. Pittsburgh, they got Liriano. They really don't have the best arms there, but if he can put together a quality year, Pittsburgh might hang in there for part of the year. But I think they're eventually going to die off, and of course that's going to depend on how Grilly comes in finishing games. Milwaukee, they're Milwaukee, and the Cubs are the Cubs, and I don't think the Cubs are going to be anywhere for a while.
Right. Yeah, Chicago's terrible. Moving on to the NFL, we are headed to the Super Bowl preview, the Harbaugh Bowl, or the Brother Bowl, is whoever wants to call it. Baltimore, San Francisco. Who you got, Tim?
I'm going to have to go with Baltimore. The reason I am going with Baltimore is it's the last game in the career of Ray Lewis. The team is going to be fired up. They're going to want to win one for him. And, it's kind of, honestly, it's a destiny, I think. And things have been falling into place for them. They got a couple of breaks in that Denver game. I do like Kaepernick, and I do like the 49ers. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a close game, and it's going to be down to the wire, and it's going to be a good Super Bowl game.
For me personally, I have no vested interest in either team. Patrick Willis is a beast for the San Francisco 49ers, plain and simple. Honestly, I just think that San Francisco has too much on offense for Baltimore's defense to be able to handle. Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers offense, they've averaged, I believe it's 23 points and just over 400 yards a game in the playoffs. So Colin Kaepernick, who is, he's not playing like the young kid that he is. Now last week was the NFL Pro Bowl, the All-Star game of the NFL, and nobody watches, nobody cares. I mean, it's one of those things where it's basically just a bunch of dudes standing around throwing the football around for 45 minutes, and nothing really gets accomplished. And no one, they're thinking of dumping it, but the player said they were actually going to play hard this year, and I don't think anybody watched. So the question I'm going to pose to you, Tim, because obviously my answer is no, is does anyone still care about the Pro Bowl?
Well, I don't think they do. There's still some diehard football fans out there that might, but you got to think of this. The people that you want to see in it, if you're a Baltimore fan or you're a 49ers fan, the people you're going to want to see in it aren't going to be in it. And, for some reason, they don't put a lot of focus on it like they do the MLB or the NBA All-Star Game. It's just, people get fired up about that. People get excited about that. You got the home run derby, and it's just not there with the Pro Bowl. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't want to see him get rid of it, but I'd like to see him hype it up a little bit and actually make something of it.
Right. And now let's go to something that a lot of people actually do care about in this area, in the Michigan area, is the Lions draft. DeMontre Moore, D. Milner, Jarvis Jones. The Lions have needs at linebacker, corner. Who do you take there in the first round? And also, Manti Te'o is listed as the second best linebacker in the draft, inside linebacker in the draft. He's number 37 overall. If you're the Lions, do you take a risk and take a second-round pick and draft Manti Te'o, or do you wait and try and see if you can get him in a later round because of his off-the-field issues? Now, keep in mind the Lions do not have a fourth-round pick. For me, I think first round you have to take D. Milner. You have to address that secondary. You have no one at corner. I mean, Bill Bentley was okay. Chris Houston is okay, but you need a shutdown corner. If the Lions cannot trade for Darrelle Revis, you have to take D. Milner and address that secondary there. For me, also, the second round, why not take a flyer on Manti Te'o? The last 9-10 drafts haven't been worth a shit anyway, so why not just take a risk, take that chance, and maybe he becomes the next Ray Lewis. Had a lot of off-the-field issues when he was young, got right with himself, and became one of the best linebackers in football. Tim, what do you think about that, man?
Well, actually, I agree with you almost word for word. I was going to say I want them to take Milner. They have to get a corner. That the secondary for the Detroit Lions has been terrible for years. They've done nothing to address it. You got Milner. Now's your chance. Address it by all means. And Te'o, he didn't impress me in the national championship game. And then again, I don't think he impressed anybody. Off-field issues. To me, I think the whole thing was stupid. There was several different stories. He's not a problem person. He's not a problem player. There's a lot more players in the league that have done a lot worse than what he did. So by all means, if he's there and, they do need a linebacker, that's a viable choice, and I think it'd be a good pickup for him.
Absolutely. We're going to switch gears up to NASCAR now. The Gen 6 design comes to NASCAR this year with the awkward names on the windshield thing and the cool new designs that they have coming out for the 6th Gen vehicles. There's old faces in new places. Matt Kenseth takes over the 20 car. Joey Logano jumps into the 22 ride. Tim, your pick for the Daytona 500 and who takes home the Sprint Cup this year?
The Daytona 500, that's kind of a different race. And again, I kind of think that like the NFL All-Star game is kind of losing its luster too, at least to me. But like Trevor Bauer won last year. It's kind of open. But my pick for it is going to be Carl Edwards. Had a rough year last year. I think he's going to make it a point to come out this year, right from the get-go, and win some races. My pick for the Daytona 500 is Carl Edwards. Who's going to win Sprint Cup? And they're kind of going back to the old style, if you will. There's a guy that's driving right now. He was the man in that style of car, and he had a good year last year. He's gotten things straightened out with his pit finally, and I'm going with Dale Jr. to win it all next year, or this year.
Wow. Dale is my pick to win the Daytona 500, hands down. I was a big Dale fan for a long time, and then came this kid from the east side of Michigan by the name of Brad Keselowski. Really impressed me with his Sprint Cup run last year. Just I don't know where it came from, but he came out big and he took it home. He's in a Ford this year now, switching over from Dodge. I like the way that the new Ford Gen 6 vehicle looks. I think he can really do some damage, and I think he's going to repeat as Sprint Cup champion. Another new face to Sprint Cup this year, the two-time defending back-to-back nationwide champion, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It was announced that he and Danica Patrick are dating. I mean, is this the point now where we can officially say that Danica Patrick she's a sideshow, she's a circus when it comes to Sprint Cup, or is this the year that she finally becomes a legitimate contender? And for me, I don't think that's the case. I think she's a sideshow. I think, there's a lot of jokes about how it's really nice that they put kitchens into Sprint Cup cars now so Danica Patrick can race. And, if you want to know where Danica is, just look in the back of the field with the hair flying out and all of those stupid things. And Danica's a sideshow. I don't think she can contend. But, a lot of people have said you got to give her props for what she's doing. And she's at least made it to that level, which you can say about a lot of people. Michael McDonald and Boris Said, and, guys who never really amount to anything, but they're there every week and they race. So, Tim, I want your thoughts on that.
Well, coming from IndyCar, it's always a tough transition. By far, Tony Stewart's the most successful to do it. You got Montoya, who's been kind of iffy. Hornish really hasn't amounted to much. But Danica, I got to agree with you there. I think she's a sideshow, man. She's had her chance. Yeah, she's out there banging and bumping, rubbing with all the guys. But, what has she done? She didn't even do anything in Nationwide, so... I got to tend to agree with you there. I think she's a sideshow, and I think that, honestly, I don't know if they kind of thought that people were just going to give her a break because she was a woman or what. But, I think Danica's days are numbered in NASCAR.
Cool. Moving on to the NBA, and we'll go national first with the Los Angeles Lakers. They're 4 games out of a playoff spot, 6 games under 500. Everybody in the NBA makes the playoffs, literally everybody. And for some reason, the Lakers with Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard can't seem to put the pieces together. So it's time to pose the question to them, is it time to trade Dwight Howard or Kobe or Steve Nash? I mean, is it time to just throw in the towel and maybe start thinking about retooling the team?
It's a possibility. You got all those players. I mean, look what they did when they lost to the Pistons. Look at who they had. I mean, they had, 4 out of 5 potential Hall of Famers on that team. People just have a bad year. Now, who's to say that they're not going to come out next year and run the table? The one fact that you do want to remember is that Nash and Kobe, they're starting to get up there. So, maybe it was a case where it was too little too late with the Lakers. So do I think that they should go trade their team off? No, I don't. But, something, I will agree with you. Something's got to be done. But I'm not ready for them to sell out yet, no.
For me, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I think it's time to consider the end of the Kobe Bryant era for the Los Angeles Lakers. He's got a monster cap number, which is going to be a big problem when you try to trade him. But for me, I think it might be time to look at possibly trading Kobe. You sit him down and you say, look, here's the deal. Obviously, we're not going to win a title this year. We want to start building our team around Dwight Howard. Would you be open to being traded to a contending team? And if he goes for it, great, and try and work out that deal with the cap numbers and all of that, and hopefully things work out for you. But I think it's time that they shift their focus from building the team around Kobe to building this team around Dwight Howard. He's young, he's freakishly talented, and you can put mediocre pieces and he will make them better. Additionally, you can put good pieces around him and he will make them great. And I think that that's something that the Lakers certainly need to address right away. Another team that's sub 500 this year and just made a trade today, last night actually, was the Detroit Pistons. Locally, they traded Tayshaun Prince and Austin Daye to the Memphis Grizzlies for Jose Calderon. Jose Calderon is a top 5 in assists, pass first point guard. Very talented young man. I think this was a great trade for the Pistons. It opens up some cap space for him at the end of the year, which, Tim, you and I joked about earlier today when we were texting back and forth about the trade, that I hope that they use that cap space to buy a good general manager and get rid of Joe Dumars, which you've never really been a fan of him in the first place. But I want your thoughts on this trade and how it impacts the Pistons moving forward.
Well, I think they needed a point guard. Stuckey, I'm not sold on Stuckey, never was. He's a good point guard. It was a good trade. I do agree with you there. But my problem with it is this. Tayshaun Prince is the only guy left from the Pistons championship run. He was a fan favorite in Detroit. To me, I'm sorry you don't just up and trade your fan favorite. I know that there were, a guy was, he had his Tayshaun jersey on last night, and he was looking for him coming out of the tunnel. He never come out, and the guy took the jersey off and threw it down. And it's things like that really does affect your fans. And the shape the Pistons are in, you can't, you shouldn't be making moves like that. Was it a move that needed to be made? Yes and no. The other side of that, as you said, they made a move before for cap space, and look where it got them. They spent $60 million on Ben Gordon. They spent $50 million on Charlie Villanueva. Why are you going to open up cap space just to waste the money? So, why are you just going to why are you just going to bring in a player and trade away, somebody who's real popular in your town, and why are you just going to bring in a player for this season? If it was something, if you were going to build a team around him, or if you were right there and this guy was going to make a huge difference, yeah, make the trade. But I just don't see it. I'm sorry.
Cool. Well, it's time now for our call to the bullpen, where we each take a moment to discuss a topic of our choosing. We get no rebuttals and no fighting back, which is always kind of interesting, especially with the topic that I plan on talking about. And I'll start with you, Tim, and give us your call.
Well, it's no secret to anybody who knows me. I've never been a fan of the Yankees or Alex Rodriguez. I'm going to say shame on Alex Rodriguez for lying. However, what I'm not going to say is shame on Alex Rodriguez for cheating. To me, if you're going to put, I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame thing for a minute. If you're going to put some of these guys that were involved in steroids in the Hall of Fame eventually, then is it really that big of a deal that people were making about it? Were you sitting there watching, as I was, when Barry Bonds was chasing 755, when McGwire and Sosa were chasing the single-season home run record? There's a lot of things that I'm sorry that they have done for the game that people might not have seen. So I don't, if you're going to come out and say, well, yeah, I stopped him, then stop him. If you didn't, then, why say that you did? That's my big problem with it. However, if they want to say that it's cheating, you got to come up with stiffer penalties for it. Suspending people, I don't think that works. Especially people that have already been caught. If you've been caught once, shame on you. If you've been caught twice, I think you should be banned from the game. Pete Rose was banned for the game for something that had nothing to do with it. So, yeah, the steroid thing is something that's going to be a crutch in baseball side from the time that it started till the end of time. So, something's got to be done about it, or let it go and play the game.
Cool. Thanks for that call to the bullpen there, Tim. We appreciate it. And as always, if you have questions for us, you can email us at thelineup@dualityfilms.net. You can also like us on Facebook at The Lineup. You can also follow us on Twitter at @the_lineup. And now for my call to the bullpen is the great debate between being elite and being great. Now, I know, Tim, you are going to go off probably when we go off camera on me here, but for me, there's a big difference between being elite and being great. You need to have numbers and you need to have championships. After all, sports is about winning championships. If you put up numbers but don't win championships, there's no way you can be elite because you didn't get the job done when it counted. Dan Marino is the prime example of that. Dan Marino is a great, great football player. Don't get me wrong. Hall of Fame. But he's not elite. Nor will he ever be, obviously, because he didn't win any titles. Now, someone like Trent Dilfer, also not elite. Yes, he has a title, but no, he didn't put up numbers. He didn't carry a team by himself. Guys like Joe Montana, guys like Steve Young, Troy Aikman, there's a very, very, very small number of guys who are elite versus being great. Guys like Steve Yzerman in hockey, won championships, put up big numbers. He's an elite hockey player. Guys like Alex Ovechkin, big numbers, no titles. Not elite. You're a great player, but you're not elite. So that's my call to the bullpen. We thank you for watching. We will be back next week with more topics. If you have a topic you'd like to see discussed on the show, again, email us at thelineup@dualityfilms.net. We will be back next week with both Tim and Charlie. For Tim Stevens, I am Jason Smith, and we'll see you next time.